It's a real phenomenon. So what's going on here? Let's get to read right now from Rob Luna, SureVest CEO. We've also got Jim Bianco joining us, the Bianco Research President and macro strategist. Let me get your take first, Jim, on what Madison was pointing out, that this is a very real issue. It's not going away, even with thoughts the pendulum could be swinging back toward the bosses, demanding people do more work or at least get back physically to work. What do you think?
No, I think it is. I think that in the larger picture, the post-pandemic period, we've seen a major rethink about work, about how things about how people view it, about how they want to do it. And look, a lot of people were very unhappy with their jobs. And what really prevented quiet quitting pre-pandemic was coercion. You went to the office and the boss was mean to you, and so you just did it to keep them off your back. But now people have had like a reassessment about what it is that's important to them. And I think that that is going to transcend just a bunch of people that we want to dismiss as lazy, but the whole nature of work. And that even filters into trying to get people back into the office nearly 2.5 years after the pandemic began.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that employers are having the difficulty they are kind of enforcing that, or at least getting workers who are into this trend maybe rethinking that trend. Rob, I'm especially reminded of the push by the investment banks to say, all right, we're dropping a lot of these COVID protocols, so you have no reason to be home anymore. I'm just wondering where that's going.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bigger issue, I mean, the pandemic has definitely, Neil, exacerbated this, but I think this is clearly a communication problem. When you talk about the millennial generation, they're not talking to people anymore. The ability to articulate themselves, build relationships with people, it's all on the phone now. Something as simple as, hey, I'm doing great, thank you, has been reduced to a big yellow thumb. And if you want to personalize it, you match it to your flesh color. So I think, building relationships, clearly articulating guidelines for people. Those are the things that we need to get back to. And that's been a big problem with our telephones, with the pandemic. Locking people away from each other is not good for business. It's not good for society.
Jim, nevertheless, if you think about it, look what's going on now in this latest period. 1 million more who have essentially quit the workforce. So you have, better than 11 million who are in no rush to get back. And I'm just wondering, there's got to be a disconnect here.
Oh, there definitely is a disconnect. I mean, it comes down to the nature of work. And I would push back a little bit. This is not a Gen Z, younger millennial thing. This transcends all the way through to people in their 50s about the types of jobs that they have. And as far as the idea that we need to engage and have better communication, I'll push back on that, too. The real fall down has been on managers. There's been a bunch of managers that whine and complain that no one's coming to the office, but don't try and manage people remotely. They have to learn that this is the new thing now.
But they don't. What if it's not the new thing, right? Maybe it's not.
Well, it is. It's a third of the workforce right now is remote, and a third of the workforce is not ready to go back to the office. It is what they want. They attach a monetary value to it. You can demand that they come back. Look, Goldman Sachs is demanding for the 4th time in the last year, they're demanding that people come back to the office. The first 3 times didn't work. We'll see whether or not this one actually works as well.
There's a cockiness, though, with all respect to what Jim was saying, though, Bob, where he said, no, I can't soil myself with coming back in and hearing your orders. I'm an obnoxious boss and the people in my cubicle who annoy me. Different times now, and it was warranted during the whole COVID thing, and I understand some workplaces changing to address that. But I don't know. I wonder if the pendulum swings back, and a lot of these people are doing this. Not all, by all means. They're going to have to read the new writing on the wall. What do you think?
Yeah, no, and I agree, and I'll push back on you a little bit, Jim. I mean, you're saying managers are people, and the ability to communicate, articulate the needs, to be able to outline a clear guideline and path for people is actually now more important than ever, because if you are able to manage this remote workforce, I think over-communication is the key, because you're not right in front of people. And so I think there's been this big disconnect where everyone's been siloed, and that's what some of these investment banks are starting to talk about, is collaboration communication is where some of these best ideas get from. So I don't think we're going back to where we were, but I do think we're going to get back to more of a normal environment, maybe some flex work schedule. But as the pandemic gets put in the rearview mirror, as this economy starts to slow down, the power is shifting back to the employers, just like we're seeing in the real estate market. It's going back to a buyer's market, so they're going to have a lot more choice, and this new generation or the 50-year-olds are going to have to catch up with that.
All right. We'll see what happens, guys. But, you know, it depends if you're a people person, right? A lot of people are people, and they love to be around people. And then there are other people who don't. And that's the conundrum. Gentlemen, thank you both very, very much for that. By the way, we're getting word